Hunting the Shadows. Good evening, everyone. Come on in. It's a cold, dark, foggy night out there. Perfect night for us to get together for this subject that we're going to have tonight. It's going to be an interesting show, okay? We got some really interesting ground to cover, so get ready. We're going to all together travel down the highway to high strangeness, okay? That's what we're going to do. And welcome to this episode of Hunting the Shadows. I'm your host, Dennis Carroll, and I want to welcome. Looks like we've got a full house tonight. That's why I went ahead and jumped the gun a little bit, just to kind of keep the powers that be off guard there. You know what I'm saying? And I want to welcome everyone in. We've got some new subscribers tonight. Welcome to the family. And I hope you're going to enjoy your journey. Definitely, without a doubt, it's going to be an interesting one. Hello, Donna, Shiro, Richard, Millie. We've got the girl in her gong. I've got my good friend Jessica, the Cryptid Huntress. We had a fantastic show today. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. You can find it on her YouTube channel, and you can find it on my YouTube channel. It's in the playlist, so check it out. It was a fantastic show. And that lady can always come up with some great subjects and ideas. I like the way her mind works. Okay. And hello, JoJo, Aussie Sue, and Midwest, my good friend Midwest, and my brother and my friend, and my brother, Mr. Nighthawk is in here with us, and Philip. Jojo, we've got a full house tonight. I hope it keeps getting in here. We keep getting some more people in, so come on. It's going to be, I'm a little bit early tonight, but that's okay. I wanted to get started on some of this stuff. It's going to be very interesting. And I want to say, make a quick announcement before we do get into our subject. Very soon, it's coming, folks. I know I've been promising this for a while, but it's going to come. Definitely the Midnight Road excursions into the unknown. Okay. And it is very close to being ready. So be watching for it. It's going to surprise you one day when you least expect it. Very soon it's going to be there. Now, this will be pre-recorded, so you can watch it at your own leisure anytime that you want. Hello, Roger Blair, and Love Cat. Wild Man's Mom, okay, and Marie, hello Marie, and we've got some more. Ann is here tonight. Hello, Ann. And so we're getting a full house in tonight. Demonic animals. What is this all about? Nature goes evil. That's what we're going to talk about. You know, I love it when different fields of the paranormal cross each other. And that's what you're going to see tonight. We're going to cross the field of demonology and cryptozoology. How does that sound? That's going to be very interesting. And we're going to get into that shortly. Definitely going to wait for a few more people to get in here. It's 9 o'clock, so We're going to wait for some more to fill up the spaces in there. Hello, Wizard Moon. And yeah, this is a very interesting subject, and we're going to get deep into this. And without a doubt, let me pull up my ticker, my banner going. There we go. All right. And got a little picture for you here. Okay, take a look at this, of course. Look at this beautiful animal. You know, I love wolves. Wolves, lions are two of my favorite animals. And they're sort of my spirit animals. And the wolf and the lion. And look at that. That's a beautiful animal. And look at the instinct written in his face. I mean, that's an animal you not only have to admire, but you got to respect him too, without a doubt. And you better respect him, because if you push him too far, you might pay the consequences for it, definitely. But what happens if they go like this on you? That's a bad situation, and you don't ever want to see one actually getting like that. And they can do that, but we're going to talk about a different side of them tonight. We're going to talk about how they can have an evil influence to it. We're going to get deep into that very shortly, okay? But when we talk about devil dogs and stuff like that, that's what you think about right there. That is a bad-looking dude, okay? And you would think about your regular pet, the animal you know and love, actually turning into something like that on you one day. That would be a bad situation, one that we hope none of us ever has to confront, but you never know. You never know with animals, okay? That's the interesting thing about it. And I want to get deep into that here very shortly. Like I say, don't forget, be watching for the Midnight Road, excursions into the unknown. It's going to be some of my most interesting cases, some of the most interesting stories I can tell. You know, I'm kind of a storyteller too. I love to tell stories, and that's one of my expertise. And these are going to be some fantastic stories you're going to definitely want to hear. And speaking of stories, this subject reminds me of one tonight, the story about the three animals that died and went to. There were like two dogs and a cat. They died and went to heaven and found themselves standing before the throne of God. And God on the throne said to the first animal, which was the dog, he said, tell me about yourself. And the dog, he was a pit bull. And he said, well, Lord, I've always loved my family, been loyal, done whatever I was told to do. I've been a good animal, you know, to my family and everything, and to my master. And God said, well, you know, that is wonderful. Take a seat over here on my right side. Well, the dog went over and sat down on the right side. So God turned to the second dog that was there, which happened to be a German Shepherd. And he said, tell me about yourself. And the German Shepherd would say, hey, I've always loved my family. I've been loyal, guarding them. I've always been there for them. I love them with all my whole being. And God said, well, that is fantastic. Why don't you take a seat over here on my left side? So they left the cat. So God turned to the cat and said, tell me about yourself. And the cat said, I will in a minute after you give me my seat. You're in my seat. Okay. Okay, so anyway, that's the cat. That is the attitude of a cat. Okay, don't forget that. But you gotta love them anyway. Okay, cats are that way. I like cats and dogs. I'm a big animal lover, so I've always liked them. You know, in that respect, I love animals. And animals really look up to us. We kind of sometimes, you know, we don't think about this. We kind of take God's place for animals. And we don't really realize that. And that's a big responsibility. Oh, definitely. And I think a lot of times we really fall down on the job and we don't do what we should be doing with it. Freaky Geek said, I thought the cat sat at the back of the seat above all the others. He probably did. He took God's seat anyway. How's Ghost doing, Dennis the White Cat? He's doing okay when I see him every now and then. He's still hanging around and he hasn't disappeared on me anymore since then so far. Hello, Crystal. And so you never know about cats, though. I had another cat one time, and I named him Merlin because he was very much like a magician. He could disappear too whenever he wanted to. Cats are sneaky that way. That's the thing I love about cats. They have that aura of mystery about them, and they have an otherworldly kind of a thing about them too, in that respect. So that's the interesting thing about cats. So anyway. Um, Demonic animals. Is there such a thing? Oh, yes, without a doubt. And we're going to talk about that very shortly. Let me say this about animals. Okay, let's go back. Let's go back to the book of Genesis in the Bible for a moment. And once upon a time, everybody was living in peace. No animal was eating any other animal. A lion laid down with a lamb. It was all a very peaceful thing in paradise. Okay, but then the curse happened. There's a curse upon us, upon our world, upon the very fabric of our existence. That curse still exists to this day. And it not only affected us, it affected the animal kingdom as well. And the very first job that mankind was given was to take care of the animal kingdom. And like I said, we've really fallen down on that job, haven't we? Certainly, without a doubt. But here's an interesting statement. After we lost paradise, here's what it was said about animals: that the fear of you and the dread of you will be upon every beast of the field. And unto this day, no matter how much our animals love us, and I'm talking about domesticated animals, and I've seen some animals like cows and sheep that were just like pets. I mean, they would play ball and everything else just like cats and dogs would. Okay, you can't rule them out. They can be pets too, just like cats or dogs or foxes. I've seen foxes that made excellent pets. It depends because, listen, anything that has the capacity to love has a spirit in it. Okay, you got to admit that without a doubt. It has a spiritual side to it. Okay. And let me say this, and there have been many instances, I won't get into that tonight because that's a show for another time, ghost animals. But even the bonds of death cannot break the power of love, okay? Especially with your animals. Your animals can love you so much that even death will not break that bond, okay? Think about it. I've had many, many cases where these things have happened and showed up like that. I won't get into that tonight, but it's an interesting aspect. Anything that has a spirit, okay, has a spiritual side to it that is capable of love, okay, it's very much like us in that respect, okay. And so the animal kingdom is that way. And you got to remember this: anything that has a spirit is susceptible to that spirit being overridden or overtaken or possessed, as the word is. It has that capability of that happening, okay, because it has a spirit, okay. Think about that now very closely. That is very important concept you got to remember. But let's look at animals for just a moment. Animals, unless they are abused or mistreated, twisted and bent to the way certain things go, animals are born like children. They have that complete innocent side to them. And animals, by the way, operate, like I said earlier, on nothing but basic instinct, what is built into them, okay? You can't say that that's right or wrong because it has no moral capacity to it in that respect. It's what's built into them by their creator. That's the way they got to be. You and I are that way, okay? We are the way that we are because that's just the way we are. You know, that's the way we're supposed to be. Animals follow that instinct as almost a God given law, okay? But sometimes things can happen to change that drastically, okay? It can be human intervention. I've seen people that mistreated animals, poor animals that were mistreated, starved, beaten, neglected, just like I've seen children like that. It can warp people and animals to a certain extent to the fact is it can even, now this is strange to say, did you know animals can even have mental illness problems? Just like we can, okay? Their minds can be broken, just like their spirits can be broken. And here's the interesting thing, though. Animals like this love unconditionally, just like children do. Okay? They are just like children. Animals are just like children in that respect, okay? They can love unconditionally. No matter how much you beat them and torture them and all that, they still have that bond of love for you. And let me say this, anything that can do that, in my book, is a superior animal, without a doubt. Okay, and it is a spiritual animal, without a doubt. Okay, so we've got to remember that very closely. Let's see what some of the people are saying here. One dog used to go to the bedroom, come back and check on me, make sure I went to bed. Oh yeah, they have that capacity of unlimited love. Okay, and we should really respect and honor that, but we don't. Not like we should. But that is something I think God given. God put it in these animals for that reason, so that they could have that interaction with us. Okay, and it's a wonderful thing when it is carried out correctly, of course. Millie says, my German Shepherd passed in April. I would see her sitting by the front door like she used to, guarding the post. This past fall, one night coming in, my daughter said, "Please be careful, Lexi." Come in. Yeah, they're gonna stay. They're going. That bond is so strong. Not even death can separate. Okay, and I've seen that, of course, with human spirits. There are certain instances with the human spirit, that bond of love. Love is the most powerful thing in the universe. I'll repeat that again for you. Love is the most powerful thing in the universe. True, the right kind of love. Okay, I'm not talking about obsessive love. I'm not talking about a sick kind of love. I'm talking about real love. Real, true love is the most powerful, God given force in this universe. Okay, and not even death or the grave can stand up against it in that respect. Okay. I sleep with my 3 Cavalier King Charles and my Himalayan cat. Oh, yeah, I got a bed full there, Jojo. It's just pretty warm at night. As we used to say, when it gets really cold, you put 3 dogs in the bed. That's where you get 3-dog night at. If it's a 3-dog night, it's a very, very cold night, definitely. I'd be lost without my beautiful fur babies. They mean a lot to us, and they have, now listen to this, what I'm saying. They not only have this bond of love between us, but a spiritual bond as well, okay? And we've got to remember that wherever that strong love is, there's the spiritual bond, without a doubt. But what happens if outside influences take hold? Something that you and I don't do, okay? Let's think about this a moment. Now, let me say this about wild animals, undomesticated animals, such as lions, tigers, and bears, and stuff like that. They have that wild part to them. And what did I say earlier? The fear of you and the dread of you will be upon every beast of the field. No matter how much our dogs, our cats love us, there always will be that little bit of they just don't know kind of thing. You know, they did that little bit of a fear there that they don't know it's and can you really blame them? Knowing mankind, I really can't blame the animals for that. But they'll never trust us completely, okay? No matter how much they love us, they can never trust us absolutely 100% completely. And yet, on the other side of the coin, we can't trust them to a certain extent, because I have known domesticated animals, cats, dogs, stuff, that have turned on their owners. Now, there may be extenuating circumstances. There could be sickness, there could be mental illness, there could be a lot of factors in that causes this to happen. Okay? But it does happen. So that means that no animal, I don't care walking this earth, what animal, and that includes man, can be trusted. You can't trust them, because something can happen. Something can go wrong. Something can change them from outside or from the inside. Philip says our American bully lays like us on a pillow and on her back. Oh, yeah. Well, they will begin when they spend enough time with you. They're not animals anymore. They're people. Okay, that's just the way that goes. That's the way they think in their mind. Okay, they're like one of you, and we should not violate that. Like I said, if you can't love an animal and give it your 100%, you don't need that animal. Okay, you don't need that animal in your life. If you cannot give that animal what it needs, the support that it needs, the love and the caring that it needs, you do not need that animal. You do not need children, much less animals. Okay, you don't need that in your life if you can't do that. And because that is the wrong thing to do, to violate that love and that trust that they have in us. But there'll always be that little bit where they can't trust us. The fear of you and the dread of you will be upon every beast of the field, and it includes all of them. They'll never be able to trust man. But I really can't blame them. Knowing man, I can see where they're coming from on that. But one day that will be different. When we regain paradise, the lion will lay down with the lamb, and the beast will be led by a child. We will be back to the way we were truly supposed to be. That fear will be gone. That trust, that absolute trust will be in place. That complete love that we'll know once we gain paradise again. Okay. All right. Let's see. Well, we got here. Let them know what when we are unwell and can read our moods. That is very true. I have seen police dogs that can sniff a packet of cocaine in somebody's trousers in a crowded airport. Okay, they can find you definitely. They can smell. I think that I've heard this statement made before that dogs, especially, are able to actually smell in color. Think about that a minute. That is mind blowing. That is how sensitive their smell can be. I have actually seen bird dogs in the field with possession of whatever the position their tail was in, would tell you how many birds they could smell in the bush, or how many partridge or quail or whatever. If there's like 4 in there, they would, with the position of the tail, it would count and tell you how many birds are in that bush. You could tell how many birds are in that bush by the way it held its tail. That's how well trained these animals can be. But that's not just the training part of it. They want to love us. They want to do what we want. We want them to do. They love that, because that is that when we depend upon them and trust them, they love that, and they send that back to us in the way that they do these things. John Fulton says we have 2 queen beds pushed together because all 4 of our dogs, 4 of our cats will leave no room for the humans. I've had that problem too. My dog Zach, who's not in here right now, I think he's sleeping in the living room there, is a real big bed hog. Definitely, he likes to get up on the bed. Here's the funny thing about Zach: he doesn't like just the bed; he likes the very middle part of the bed. Okay, that's his territory. But that's the way dogs and cats do. They're very possessive about their sleeping arrangements. Sweet Pea says Fergus is giving me a hard stare right now. You know you're talking about it. Donna Spencer says I buried my dog with my daughter's dogs in my backyard. One night I went to her house in the dark and I saw a Bigfoot outlined in lightning bugs walk across the grave. I knew they were okay. That's a sort of a sign, wasn't it? Yeah. I think a lot of our animals, especially I call them spirit animals, will stay with us a lot longer than people think. Okay, then you may not know it, but I think they're still there. But let's look at the flip side of this now. Animals, like humans, are susceptible to demonic forces. Okay, that is known without a doubt. Go back to the Bible, and don't forget the very famous incident with the demon named Legion. They were placed in a herd of pigs, and the pigs went crazy and went over a cliff and killed themselves. Animals can be possessed, not in the very same way that humans can be possessed, but yes, that can happen in certain instances. Doesn't happen a lot. It is kind of rare, but it can happen. Okay. When it comes to the demonic, all cards are on the table. Okay. All cards are wild. Marie Bowen says, I had a cat that went missing for weeks. Everybody thought it was dead. He was all prayed for that cat. When we finished playing, the cat was scratching at the door. And a good ending, huh? Cats are that way sometimes. They can disappear for a while, go out on wild weekends, I think, or something like that. And you never know. It will turn back up again. That's where, the very famous legend that started in Egypt with cats having 9 lives. Okay. Supposedly. That's not true, but that's an old legend there. Crystal says, Marie, how cool is that? Your cat knew where home was. Okay, John Ford. And that reminds me of the cat murderer we had in our neighborhood a year ago. John said the cat started going missing, then someone witnessed a man luring over someone's cat and grabbing her and strangling her. Oh yeah, you have a lot of psychos that do stuff like that, John. They take it out on poor defenseless animals and children. That's the way psychos operate. They pick on stuff smaller and weaker than they are. Some cats in my book, take Ghost as big as he is. I wouldn't want to grab him the wrong way. You're asking for trouble. I mean, some of these cats, big cats, domestic cats, are the size of wild cats. So they would be way too much to handle in my book. Let's see what we got here. Sounds like, let's see. We got Wild Man's Mom. We have a bed full of cats and dogs too. Oh yeah. Our animals truly are our support animals in many ways. I know, they are our emotional support animals. They do help us emotionally. And like I say, that unconditional love is something that you truly need in your life, but you need to accept it for what it is and not abuse that, definitely. John Fort says, screaming, what are you doing to my cat? The man, much younger and fitter, put on a burst of speed and ran off and made the news. Police are very concerned. Neighbors put together a list. That man needs some help, definitely. Some mental help without a doubt, and they need to lock him up, because if you'll do that to animals, you will eventually graduate to doing that to people, without a doubt. Living room at night, they got rid of that dog. I heard something about it. Animals are susceptible to demonic possession, okay? And that has been known down to history. Look at the very famous story of the Hound of the Baskervilles. That was a devil dog, okay? Now, devil dogs and hellhounds are two different things. I know, let me repeat that for you again here. Devil dogs and hellhounds are two different things. Okay? First of all, let me explain that statement. A devil dog is usually a dog possessed by a devil or an evil spirit kind of thing. They can also appear as grims. A grim is a dog that's sort of like Black Shuck. Black Shuck is a very famous legend of a ghost demon dog that roams the countryside. And to see it was a very bad portent of evil and death. But now a hellhound is different. The hounds of hell actually are demons in the form of hounds, and they actually come after or sent after very evil and wicked people to drag them to hell. Okay. Hellhounds usually are never seen. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say, I've had this happen a lot. Oh, Mr. Carl, I saw some hellhounds last night. I say, no. You did not see hellhounds. You do not see hellhounds. They are invisible. Okay? If you see one, the only time that you supposedly can see a hellhound is when you are dying and they are taking you to hell. You cannot see them until then. They are invisible. So when somebody tells me they've seen a hellhound, usually they're not telling the truth, or they've seen something else. There's something going on. They're not the real true hellhounds. The real hounds of hell are invisible. You can hear them, you can smell them, you can feel them, but you cannot see them until the moment they drag you to hell. And when the flames of hell are licking up around your hindquarters, you will see them then, okay? But that is a true hellhound. Now, a devil dog is a completely different thing, okay? Like I said earlier, the devil dog is really a dog possessed by an evil spirit or demon, or devil, whatever name you want to call it. and it does some evil, bad things. They can also supposedly murder people, um, and do stuff like that, evil things. So when you read about the legends of Black Shuck and the Hound of Goshen and some of these other interesting stories that tell about that, and I've told about the Church Grim before. Now the Church Grim, by legend, is a ghost sort of demon dog that haunts churchyards. Okay, it usually hangs around churchyards, and I'll tell you why. Back in the old days, when they first laid the foundation of a church, they would actually kill a dog and leave it as a guardian, sort of a ghost guardian of their church yard, and they would bury it in the north corner of the churchyard. And the ghost of that dog, supposedly from then on, would haunt that churchyard and guard it and protect it, supposedly against evil spirits and stuff. That's a church grim. Okay, very interesting thing. Check it out, look it up, do some research on it. The Church Grim is a very interesting legend. Aussie Sue says my son's little Jack Russell Bandit sleeps on my bed while his dad's away at working night shift. Otherwise, he's with his dad. Well, he knows who to keep company with, doesn't he? Okay. John Fortman, he was caught and arrested. Best part of the story, the woman who chased the cat murderer was walking months later and heard the cat calling her. Oh, good. He didn't end up a victim. Okay, that's good. Let's see. Crystal says a lady I worked with, neighbor, was pouring gasoline on her cats. Called police and they said they couldn't do anything unless they actually seen it. I don't understand how anyone could hurt any animal. I don't either. I mean, it's very evil. It's very evil when it's the other way around too. I think you're possessed to a certain degree to be able to, especially, go up against an innocent animal and do some of the, or children too, for that matter, definitely, or innocent people. Whenever you do those kind of actions, whenever you set out to physically harm someone, you've reached a stage of the demonic. Okay? Don't ever forget that, what I just said. You reached a stage of the demonic. You're actually working and operating hand in hand with the demonic, whether you know it or not, because that's the way they initiate these things. Okay? And that is definitely why they would also take over such cryptids as Dogman and Bigfoot. Think about this a moment, okay? They would definitely fall in line with animals. And if animals like dogs, cats, and all that could be possessed, so could cryptids. Without a doubt, in my book, that is a possibility. I'm not saying it happens a whole lot. I don't know that for sure. I can't paint it all with a broad brush. But I'm sure that there is a possibility, without a doubt, of that happening. So that is why I think sometimes you hear of these cryptids being sighted with the red glowing eyes. The red glowing eyes, whether it's on the eyes of a devil dog or the hounds of hell or a Bigfoot or a dog man or a werewolf, whatever the situation is, those red glowing eyes are a dead giveaway that what you're dealing with is probably demonic, without a doubt. Okay, so don't forget that. And it's another good idea not to look these things in the eyes. Okay, do not look demonic things in the eyes, because that's where their power lies. That's where they can get you if you're not careful on that. Okay. Crystal says, very evil, no heart, that's for sure. Yep, that's people like that have gone past that stage, definitely. Let's see. Donna Spencer says, I think my daughter's cats are like that. They sit up at night and watch me at 3:30 a.m. They will wake me up walking and up and down on my blankets. Well, cats don't really sleep. Dogs sleep more than cats. That's where you get the name cat naps from. Cats sleep off and on in little bursts, all night long, all day long. That way, you very seldom see them lay very still very long. If they do stay very still very long, then they may be a little sick or something going on with them, and that's because cats, it's not the nature of a cat to stay still very long. Okay, dogs on the other hand can sleep hours at a time. Let sleeping dogs lie, as the old saying goes. Uh, but cats are different in that way. That's just the way cats are made. The Krypton Hunter says they'll say animals have unconditional love and kids too. Absolutely. And when we violate the precepts of that, we're the bad guys. Okay, without a doubt, one of which way you look at it. But there can be outside forces that precipitate some other things going wrong. It cannot be our factors in this. You may run up in a, but it's kind of rare. Okay, in my career, I've only run into this a few times, and I've only known something that actually happens where animals are demonically controlled. But it can happen, especially in a household where the demonic infection is very virulent, where there is some very bad demonic power. It can even affect the animals in that household. And not only that, I've seen it affect hamsters, it can affect birds. It cannot just be dogs and cats, okay? It can be other things as well. The demonic is that way because, like I said earlier, you're dealing with things that have a spirit. And the demonic can latch on to these things that have a spirit and manipulate them the way they want them to go. Hello, Griff. My neighbors are soulless. Their cat was almost frozen on their porch. It was 3 degrees. I knocked until them let it in. People have no, they're only caught up in what they want to do, unfortunately. They're only caught up in what they want to do, and they can't think about anybody else. That to me is very sad, okay? Because once you get like that, like I say, you're dealing hand in hand with a demonic stage. You're not too far from that in that respect, okay? John Fortman says, I've read so many ghost stories where someone says, I heard what sounded like a bowling ball hit the floor above me and rolled down the hall. Nothing was there except my cat must be at home. Cats can do some weird things too. I've heard them make some very strange sounds, especially during mating season. They can be freaky, definitely without a doubt. And I told that story about what happened when my grandmother died and all the cats showed up at her house. That was one of the freakiest things I have ever seen in my life. And to this day, I have to look at cats and wonder, what's going on with these because I think cats are different. I think they have got like 1 foot in our world and 1 foot in another world. Okay, in that respect, that makes them, to me, being a paranormal enthusiast, it makes them very interesting to me, without doubt. I've had cats for years. Mostly though, my cats live outside. They don't want to live in the house with me. Most of them they're not domesticated. They're not feral, but I'm just saying they like being outside more. They like the freedom. They don't like to be cooped up in the house. Some cats now, of course, raised in the house. They don't know, any difference in that. But that's the way. Cats are definitely otherworldly, grown or gone, without doubt in my book. That's why I say it happened to my incident the other day with my cat. It's almost as if like he teleported or something. I don't know what's going on with that. I still haven't figured that out. But if any one animal would be interdimensional, I would definitely say it had to be a cat, without a doubt. But the interesting thing about animals, they are susceptible, and like we were talking about on Jessica's show today, even AI, even computer programs and games can be susceptible to interference of a demonic sort. Okay, without a doubt, anything that we create, anything in our environment can be susceptible to that in many different ways. Although you can't really say a doll can be possessed, although it looks like us. It has the attributes of a human, and the demonic loves that. By the way, okay, that's where you get your voodoo doll at, without a doubt. It represents us, and they like that, but it can't actually be possessed because that doll does not have a spirit unless, now here's the freaky part, unless someone has trapped a spirit in that doll. Then you got some really bad JoJo going on here, okay? You got some really bad juju. So you don't want to mess with that. You go there. But actually, and here's something freaky that happened the other day. I'm just going to mention this right quick. Somebody around town started leaving dolls in certain places around town, and I come to find out later it was a witchcraft shop. Okay, and they had a little note on the doll. It said, "If you find me, take me home. I have a spirit in me." I would not advise that, folks. Okay, that does not sound good at all. Okay, whoever came up with that idea, that was a bad idea. So if you ever find it all with a note that says, "Take me home, I've got a spirit in me," don't do that. Okay, that would not be a good idea. Um, so anyway, um, and this really happened in the town I live in, actually. And I have to shake my head. I'm going, where did they come up with this? But anyway, but people were finding these dolls, and that's why the demonic likes dolls so much. They represent humans. But look at the next stage. Animals are very much like us too in that respect. And like I said earlier, anything that can unconditionally love that has that aspect of being taken. Okay, it can be overtaken by certain spirits or influences, and that is the bad thing about it. But now let's look at cryptids for just a moment. Now I know Bigfoot's not going around loving us like our dogs or cats do. No, definitely not. But they, I think, are without a doubt spiritual animals or spiritual beings. Uh, so is Dogman, probably. Or some of these other cryptids may be in this category of the animals in that respect. Sure, they can also be susceptible to this demonic, outside demonic influence, okay? And we've got to be very careful with that. And never approach any unknown animal. That's the number one rule, whether you think it's got a demon in it or not. Never approach any unknown animal the wrong way. Okay, be very, very careful how you do that, especially an unknown dog or anything like that. It's very much like that joke about the guy said, he tried to pet the guy's dog, and the guy come up and he said, can I pet your dog? And the guy says, yeah, if you want to. So he goes down to pet the dog, and the dog almost tears his hand off. He said, I thought I could pet your dog. He said, that's not my dog. You know. So be very careful what you're dealing with here, okay? And how you approach an animal, because they can be abused. They can be very fearful of you. Like I said, the fear of you and the dread of you is upon every beast. You got to remember that it's always going to be there, whether it shows blatantly or not. It is still there, okay? And that's part of their instinctive makeup, is not to trust you, because that's how you survive. Okay, let me say something very cold here about that a moment. The one true way to survive in this world is to trust no one. Trust no one or no thing. And animals know this very well, okay? Animals know that is one of their main laws of survival. But sometimes their love will supersede that. I know, and so does that go with humans as well. Aussie Sue says, same here. I was in dolls. These dolls creep me out. Definitely, dolls have an interesting aspect in that. But they look like us, and they can represent us, not only physically, but spiritually in some aspects as well. I won't get into the golem tonight. The golem is a very interesting thing that I won't get into that. But the interesting thing is this representation of human is what can get us in trouble if we're not careful. Okay, don't forget that. But look at Dogman and Bigfoot for just a moment. They look human. They have human aspects about them. Okay, I'm not saying they look completely like us, but they've got arms and legs and a head. They're like us in that respect. Maybe they're in the image of their creator in that respect too. But they have that capacity to be taken over just like we do. We got to remember that. And when you're dealing with something in the forest, in the wild like that, when you come upon a bear, mountain lion, whatever, you got to bear one more thing in mind. Not only is this a wild animal, and you better respect it for that respect, because it's going to do what it has to do instinct-wise to survive, okay? It's not going to cuddle up to you like your dog or your cat will. It doesn't trust you in that respect, in that way. It has that fear and that dread of you strong upon it instinctively. Okay, but also there may be another factor. There could be a demonic factor to this thing. Okay, and there have been many, many reports of animals in the wild having demonic attributes. I can think of many cases of cryptids supposedly that have this attributes, and I'm not just talking about the Jersey Devil. There have been the Snallygaster's one of them. There have been a lot of them. There's one I think in North Carolina that's sort of like the Hound of Goshen, is in that respect. There there's many different cryptids out there that has that capacity to have a demonic connection with it. Okay, we've got to bear that in mind as well. As cryptid researchers, we may be going up against something that has a bad spiritual mojo to it here. Okay, so be very careful what you're dealing with in that respect. Girl on a gong says, yes, the outdoors is so much fun fishing is too. I used to take my own fishing rods fishing. Yeah, the outdoors is a wonderful place, but you got to maintain your caution, okay? Because you're not in your living room anymore. You got to remember that, and you know who knows what you may come up against out there in the wild. I have had some freaky, freaky things happen to me, and some of the most interesting places that it happened in was the forest. Okay, so bear that in mind whenever you go to the forest or the woods. But I've integrated into the pack as kept space with. You got Here's the interesting thing about wolves and wild dogs and stuff. They have a family mentality. And in order for you to be accepted, you've got to be part of their family kind of thing. You've got to integrate yourself into their family thing about that, Puck Elf. That's the way that usually goes. I have actually seen people interact with wolves in the wild, and it can do it if you know what you're doing, but you've got to be very careful because, like I said, you've got to remember you are dealing with a wild animal, and that means anything can happen, and they can. I once talked to a lion tamer, and this man had some beautiful African lions, and he told me something very interesting. I talked to him about what he was doing. I thought it was fantastic the work he was doing. He could get those lions to do anything. And I talked to him that day, and he said, I love these lions. He says, these lions are my children. He said, I love them completely, but I can never trust them. You can never trust them because they are wild animals. They have that instinctive capability of turning wild on you, no matter how domesticated they may appear. But all animals, dogs, cats, birds, I don't care which one, they all have that capacity to turn on you. Okay, if something goes wrong with them mentally, physically, if they're hurt, if they're scared, if they're afraid, you got to remember that's what you're dealing with, and never ever take that card off the table. Okay, you'll be good idea not to. The forest is lovely, dark, and deep, and I have many, many miles and promises to keep. Right? Yeah, that's one of my favorite poems there. I must have been protected. I used sticks and a spool with the fishing line. Oh, okay. Um, so anyway, that's the interesting thing about animals. Okay, they have that capacity to be manipulated by outside forces. Now take another look at mankind, what he has done with animals, and I'm not talking just about police dogs. Look at dolphins that have been trained to plant bombs, carrier pigeons that have been trained for surveillance, and the list goes on and on. Mankind manipulates the animal kingdom to his own purposes, sometimes in a very bad way. They have dogs that can even smell cancer on you. Think about that. Dogs that can do that. Dogs that, if you're diabetic, can tell you hours before your blood sugar drops what's about to happen to you. This is a wonderful thing that we can train animals to do this. One of the most magnificent trained animals is a sheep herding dog. the things they can do. It's amazing what they can do, and they can outperform a human doing it, definitely. We can train these animals to do wonderful things, but we can also train them to do bad things. Let's not forget that, because that's the very nature of man. And, we've talked about this before, even with AI and robotics and cloning and all this stuff. No matter what man does, he always turns his hand to weaponize things, and animals have been weaponized. And here's one more thing I'm going to say about cryptids. The cryptids out there, the government knows they're there. They have also been weaponized by the government. No, without a doubt, in my book, they have. I know they have. And they will continue to be weaponized as long as they're available to do it. That's just the way mankind works. That's just the way they work. And that's why I think one reason why animals will never, ever truly trust us, because they know mankind only too well, without a doubt. But anyway, that's my thing on animals tonight. And we'll hear some more back here, some of your feedback here. I think dogs can do just that instinctively. When I get sick with leukemia, my beagle was usually cleaning you before I did. Yes, they are very perceptive. Now, let me talk about my dog, Zach, for a moment. He is very sensitive, very sensitive. You cannot even to this day raise your voice to Zach. He gets offended by it, okay? He doesn't like it. He doesn't want you. He wants everything nice and calm and everything. He's very, very hypersensitive in that respect. He used to be the perfect dog for me to take on investigations with me. That dog, I trusted him over any scientific instrument I had, okay? Because I could read him like a book. I still can to this day. I could read him like a book. Although dogs and cats can be inscrutable to us in many ways, if you watch them and learn them, and if you pay attention to them, just like you need to pay attention to your children and to certain subjects that need to be paid attention to, the more attention you pay to them, the more you learn about it, okay? And that's the way it goes with animals as well. But I could trust that dog to tell me things that the instruments could not tell me. That's how very sensitive he was, definitely without a doubt. And let me say this about animals. They're not going to lie to you. Animals are not going to tell you a lie like a human would, okay? They only tell you what they feel or what they know or they are confident in knowing. In other words, okay? I like to watch animals that walk around, move around with confidence, and they know what they're doing. They can handle themselves. That shows me that animal's got it all together, okay? He doesn't have any mental problems. He doesn't have any scatterbrain kind of a problem. He's got it all together, okay? Just like what we like to see confidence in people, we like to see confidence in animals, okay? But that tells you something about that animal right there, without a doubt. Wild man's mom, I had a big 100-pound lab. He knew I was pregnant before I did. He'd like to have took the lady's head off that came in. I said it in the lock. Come on in. Yeah, animals are instinctive. And like I say, I've had people, I've actually gone to people's houses and you hear the dog inside bark, 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 bark. And finally, you get somebody to the door. I always say, did you not hear your dog barking? Yeah, he barks all the time. No. You weren't paying attention to that dog. That dog was telling you somebody was outside. You weren't paying attention to your dog. Don't blame the dog, okay? You weren't paying attention. You weren't reading that dog the way it's supposed to be read. But that's just the way people are. They get so complacent with things, they don't even pay attention to things anymore. To me, that's foolish. Pay attention to everything. Note everything. Observe everything. You have a much better grasp on your environment around you, and that includes the animals. When I go in the forest, I watch the birds. I watch the squirrels. I watch all the animals around me because they tell me things that I need to know. Okay, and that's the way you've got to be in your everyday environment, whether it's the parking lot at Walmart, and I would advise you to be very, very careful there, wherever you may be. Observe. Don't become complacent with this stuff, folks. It's very important to your very survival that you observe all these things that are going on around you and in your environment, because things can tell you stuff, okay? if you'll only listen. If you just listen. David Lester says, my year-old shepherd is confident as long as it's daylight. He doesn't like the dark, huh? Well, he's got you around, too, so that makes him feel better, too. Hopefully she gets braver as she gets older. She's great at camping out and so forth. She will eventually when that gets that confidence going. They'll get that confidence. The older they get, the more confident they get. The more they feel better in their own skin, kind of thing. You know. The outdoor animals love it when I speak and greet them. Absolutely. You need the interaction of nature is a wonderful thing, and some people completely ignore that. I don't understand that. The interaction of nature is one of the great things about being alive. Okay, without a doubt. That's the one good thing about Bandit. He lets us know if anyone's coming in our driveway before we hear anything. Absolutely. Pay attention to that. Well, you'd be surprised, also, Sue, how many people just say, I don't know, he barks all the time. That's ridiculous. You know, what if your house is on fire and your dog's trying to bark and tell you your house is on fire, you know? You better pay attention. I would, definitely. When something is out of the ordinary, you know, of course, that's my police training, too. Always observe everything. Wawa's mom, she worked with me every night. He went with us. Normally, we sit next to her in the van. Okay, my dogs love it when I sing. They start playing and not sure. Well, they know you're happy and they're picking up on that, JoJo. See, then they're feeling, they're very sensitive to your feelings. If you're sad, they're sad. If you're happy, they're happy. You know, if everything's going along good, they're gonna feel better about it. You know, they pick up on the emotion, the very emotion in the atmosphere around you. And that's why they're so susceptible, I think, to demonic influence, because they are very open in that respect. They don't have a spiritual barrier built up like you and I do, or hopefully we do, against some of this kind of stuff, okay? That's the bad thing about being an animal and a child. You don't have that built up bumper yet. That's a sad thing about it, too, and why we need to safeguard children and animals so much more than we do in that respect, because they're wide open to some of these things. Okay, I've been in many homes where the demonic has attacked children, and that's a sad thing. And you don't want that to happen. That ramps it up a lot when that happens, and when they go after children and animals, that really makes me mad. That's what really ratchets it up a few knots for me. Okay, when they do that and they go after these innocent beings, children and animals, that's when it really gets personal with me. Okay. Donna Spencer says, if animals interact with you, I had barred owls play with me. It also turned out to be a monkey that laughed at the end. Okay. Puckel says, but he was a great man, a doggy, but to the kids in the village street. Millie says, pray over your children and pets. Absolutely. We should always have them in our prayers because they need them, without a doubt. Because, like I said, they're open territory for these things, and we've got to be very watchful over them in that respect. Okay, definitely. Let's see now. I'm getting moving right along here. But that's the thing about demonic animals when nature goes bad. Let me talk about something else now. There is a prophecy in the Bible that at the end of time, the very beast of this earth will turn against us and murder us. Okay, yeah, it's in there. I'm not making this up. Okay, what is this talking about here? Something weird is going to happen with nature towards the end of days. Nature is going to become perverted by the very atmosphere of this world. Okay, let me say this: the more this world, the worse this world becomes. The very atmosphere and the very nature of this world becomes. It will bleed over into nature itself. Okay, when man messes up this world even more than it is now, it will bleed over into nature, and it will not be a good way. Okay, it will pervert nature. It will change nature, the very aspects of nature. The animals that once would not attack us or were more peaceful with us may not be that way anymore. Okay, they may turn against us big time. things may completely change. Look for this, okay? This is a telltale sign that these things will happen. Birds will begin to act differently. Animals in the wild will definitely begin to act differently. Even domesticated animals will begin to act differently. It will almost be like they will be picking up on the very hatred in this world, and it will be actually staining them. Okay, it will be changing them. This hatred, this evil that intensifies in the world, will bleed over into them and start changing their very nature from what it should be into something completely different, something very bad. We can look for this to happen. Okay, and bear that in mind. That is definitely one of the signs of the end. It is happening now. People are being attacked by animals. Absolutely, Donna. You will see this intensify, on a much larger scale. And animals will be acting completely out of instinct and sadly completely different from the way they should be acting. When you see these things happen, something is going on of a spiritual nature in this world that is actually changing them physically, okay? Because these things interact with each other, okay? And you've heard me say this before, you guard the ways to your soul, your physical, your mental, your spiritual, your emotional health. You guard it against this darkness because if you don't, it will warp and twist you in a very, very bad way. You have to be very careful. You've got to maintain that balance. And animals are more open to this, okay? Because, like I said, they don't have that spiritual barrier that we do. They don't have that mental capacity to fight against this. They're too open in that respect. You will see this begin to happen more and more as time goes on. So be very, very careful. Whatever animals you're dealing with, whether you're out in the wild or they're animals in your house. Be very careful. I'm not saying to be afraid of your animals, but I'm just saying be aware of how the mood of your animals change. Okay. David Lester watched a good movie last night based on a true story. They say it's a 12/20 movie, The Possession, dealing with a big box a young girl had. Yeah, I've seen that movie. Very, very good movie. Very interesting movie. I'm gonna have to do a talk one night on Dybbuk boxes and how to contain demons in jars and stuff like that. It's very interesting. John Foreman, do you think the prophecy refers to normal animals or cryptids? I think it refers to all of them, John, because they are all part in this world. Whatever is in this world is going to be corrupted completely. As time goes on, and Jesus laid these precepts out too. As time goes on, you will see things get worse and worse and worse. And we're talking not just physical, we're not talking just wars, earthquakes, volcanoes. We're talking spiritual. Because you got to remember one thing very important when it comes to demonology and all this other stuff. This world has a spiritual sickness. Okay, let me repeat that again. This world has a spiritual sickness to it. Okay? And let me say this. Here's the bad thing. Okay? How many sicknesses or diseases ever get better? Very few. They only usually get worse. And this spiritual disease, this spiritual sickness in the world today is going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's going to progress worse. And when that happens, everything is going to be affected. Everything. The clouds in the sky, rain coming down, birds in the air, insects on the ground. We're going to see insects turn against us, okay? We're going to see things we've never seen before because things are going to be completely different than they have ever been before. And that's what's coming without a doubt, as sure as you looking at me right now. Hey, Lester. David says that would be great when you do. We don't know too much about them. Okay, I'll do the Dybbuk boxes. Definitely one day, without a doubt. Don't let me forget that. Most of these become more transmissible and less deadly over time because the virus doesn't want to kill itself. It mutates, though. It gets worse. It ratchets up its own survival. That's the way these things work. They operate that way, but they get worse anyway. They're not going to progress to get any better. This world is sick. It's not going to get any better until a cure is given to it. Okay, and that's what's going to happen. David Lester, Melody, they are boxes that hold demons. Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that. The boxes, it can be jars. It can be different things. The Divi box, of course, is a box. Uh, you can supposedly contain demons in certain containers for certain purposes. You're getting now into grimoires and stuff like that, like the Lesser Key of Solomon, calling up demons and doing what you want to with them. You're really practicing when you do stuff like that. By the way, David Lester, you're practicing sorcery, okay, and it's usually never a good thing. Okay, it usually turns out bad. So that's the bad thing about Dybbuk boxes and stuff. Dennis, can you talk about encountering the spiritual as a police officer? Did that ever happen? Yes, I have actually been in places, John Fortman, where evil was so thick in the air, it was like a fog, like that fog outside tonight, thick as pea soup. You could feel it. Walk into it, you could feel it. And you could also feel this from certain people that, like murderers and stuff like that. You can feel this. And the only way I can say it is a spirit. Okay. You can feel the spirit. And it is not a good spirit. Okay. Usually I've encountered good spirits in my time, and I know them when I feel them. But these were bad spirits, very bad mojo type stuff here. Okay. And you can pick up on that, especially when you deal with the darker side of life a lot. And I don't know if it's just me being kind of sensitive to that after all I've been through my whole life, but I pick up on it very quickly. I mean, it's there. I don't know if it's a gift or what, a curse or whatever it may be, but I pick up on it, and I can feel it, and it's usually not good. And you can see it sometimes too. It's not just a feeling; you can actually see physical parts of it as well, like the eyes, especially go black. I'm not talking about completely black, but I'm talking about they dilate. There's some weird stuff goes on with the eyes because they truly are the windows of the soul. John Fulton said, "What would you do?" Well, pray. Basically, I prayed. Let me say something very strange, John. I carried a gun, of course. My gun was blessed. The bullets in my gun was blessed. I tried to bless my equipment because I knew it might be something that would save my life or the life of another person. Okay, and it was very important in that respect. Uh, I would think it's a gift for your protection, Millicent. I would think so. I've always felt that. I never talked much about it because it's kind of very personal to me. But I've always felt that, Millie. I've always felt that way. It was something given to me for a purpose. I think we're given gifts for a purpose for some reason. A lot of times we may not know why, but there is definitely a purpose behind it. Very little happens in this universe without some kind of purpose behind it or some kind of reason. John Fortman, did you keep the blessed equipment secret? Yeah, I didn't go around telling everybody that. They would think you were like, some other policemen would think you were going off the deep end. But I felt it was something I personally had to do myself in order for me to do my job the best way I wanted to do it. But uh, that's just the way I looked at it. I felt that I even wore. I remember wearing a St. Michael's medallion. Uh, Something that kind of gave me something to hold on to. Definitely. Hello, Bigfoot Michigan Rob. Good to have you here, brother. Glad you're in the chat. We had an interesting talk about demonic animals and stuff tonight. It's been really interesting, and demonic cryptids as well, which is an interesting thing. But yeah, when you in law enforcement, after a while, you run into a lot of very crazy situations. Without a doubt, I could write a book on it just about. And I wasn't in law enforcement that long, but like some people are. But it can get some freaky stuff, get shot at and everything else, cussed out, and in between. Here's the bad thing about it: when you are a civil servant to a certain extent, you get sort of rained upon a lot. You know what I mean? Uh, okay, well, okay, Rob. Yeah, we touched on that a little bit, definitely. John, did your spiritual sense ever affect how you would investigate? Like you would know who was guilty? Well, I didn't let that be foremost in my mind, but it was a factor that was there, and I couldn't get around it. Being human, I couldn't get around that factor. It was there, but I didn't let it completely take over control of what I was doing. You can't do that with any aspect of investigation. When you investigate, you've got to stay, and I don't care what it is. If you're investigating cryptids, if you're investigating where the banana peel come from in your kitchen, whatever the situation is, you've got to be analytical. You've got to be analytical. In other words, a lot of people call me hypercritical, but no, I'm not being hypercritical. You've got to be a little critical. Okay, you gotta be a little bit. Okay, you got to, but you got to be analytical. In other words, you got to set your emotions apart sometimes. What you're doing, don't let your emotions overrule what you're doing, because it then will overrule your mental capacity to what you're doing. So when you investigate, you've got to be very careful about that, and you've got to be very analytical. Did you? Let's see, John Fortman. What do you think of reports like Paul Bernardino talking to police and being struck off the suspect list because he seemed nice? Did you see other police fail to pick up on evil? I've seen some who became, like I said earlier about animals, very complacent. They became a routine, everyday job. Never ever let anything do that, especially being a policeman. You don't fall into that everyday complacent routine. It's this way. You then let your guard down and you fail in your true capacity as a police officer, without doubt, or anything for that matter, whatever it may be. If you let that fall down, you've really gone against what you're doing, and it's not good. It's not good at all to do anything like that. Donna Spencer. I worked at a university as a security guard. I was patrolling the parking lot. I saw a black goat in a car in the front seat, and I made several rounds in the parking lot and still saw a black goat there. That's interesting. It could have been somebody, one of the mascots or something from one of the universities or something there. You never know. I would have investigated that, I believe. I would have checked that goat out, definitely. Um, but anyway, by the way, they used to run a thing. There was a witchcraft seminars they would have in law enforcement, and they had a symbol was a goat with a line through it. No goats here. Okay, it was a joke on witchcraft thing. But anyway, um, so anyway, uh, getting back to animals for just a moment. Animals can be our friends and our best friends, okay? But we've got to remember we need to treat them as our best friends, okay? Just like we would our true best friends, we need to treat them that way. And that's the thing about animals, okay? Uh, Without a doubt, that's my final words on the animal thing. But if the animals turn demonic on you, then you better call somebody, okay? That's a good idea. You better find out what's going on and why that animal has gone demonic. But I have actually seen animals that were used in ceremonies, like goats, that would definitely have some type of inhabitive spirit in it that was not good, because it was put there on purpose, okay? And that is another aspect of demonic possession of animals. Is brought about by witchcraft or satanic worship and all that stuff. These animals are subjected to these things by men, women who are doing very bad stuff. That in my book is just another form of animal abuse. Okay, when you do an innocent animal that way, no matter what you're doing in that respect to it, I don't like that. Goats are so cool and very smart. If you watch them, they learn fast. Yeah, goats are neat. I like this. I've heard it. Police code for a dog man reports riding up a black dog. You know anything? I have heard that, John, but I never heard it on my own beat. But I've heard that say that could possibly be that. But usually it could also be the black shuck I was talking about earlier, the devil dog. Could be a devil dog too, and not a dog man. That would be an interesting thing too. Uh, Thank you, Crystal. Yeah, we need to go hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Get us out there. We're approaching 400. It's going to be a big celebration when we get to 400 here, okay? We're approaching 400 subscribers. So like us out, share us, and share, because the more you share, the more likely we get some more subscribers in here, okay? So do that. Share us out as much as possible on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever you can. It will be greatly appreciated. Hello, Jennifer. Thank you for your support, and thank you for being here tonight. I want to thank all of you. It's been an interesting program. Be watching now, because things may come down the line. It's going to happen in the next few months and all that. That may affect the very nature of things around us. Okay, so let's be aware and keep our head on the swivel and observe everything, like I said earlier. That's the way to do it. And if you have any questions at all, it doesn't end here on the show tonight, okay? I can be reached 24/7, okay? You can reach me at denniswcarroll@gmail.com, or you can always reach me through my website, denniswcarroll.com. Please do not hesitate if you have any questions, observations, you just want to tell me a story. If you got something interesting you want to share, who knows, you might end up in my next book. Okay? So don't hesitate. I'm here. If you have any questions, any concerns, something bothering you, whatever, okay? I'm here. And like I said, we're a family here on this podcast, okay? We're a big crazy family, but we're family, okay? And we stick together and we watch out for each other, okay? And we got each other's backs, and we want to always do that, okay? So don't forget it. And when you sign aboard the Strange Train, you're in with us for good, okay? So, and now don't forget Friday night, okay? Friday night, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Paranormal Point of View. We're going to have an interesting little talk Friday night, okay? So be ready for it. And actually, I'm going to be talking about, listen to this, this is going to be the subject, when the paranormal strikes back. I'll repeat that again for you. When the paranormal strikes back. That's what we're going to be talking about Friday night. Paranormal point of view, okay? So don't miss it. You're gonna want to enjoy that. And until we get together again, I want to wish you all. I hope you all have a terrific rest of the week. What's left of it, and a great weekend coming up. And don't relax too hard. Go pet your dog and your cat for me. Tell them you love them. Let them know you're there for them, and they'll always be there for you as long as they can. Definitely. It's a two-way street, and that's a wonderful thing. So go pet your dogs and your cats, your birds, your fish. I had a fish one time that actually come up in the fish tank and let me pet him. I don't know if I ever told you about that. It was a big goldfish. He would actually come up in the tank and let me pet him. He loved that. So anyway, there you go. That's a wonderful thing that we have this in this world. We got some support animals for us. Okay. So I want you all to have a hopefully good night and good dreams. Don't be dreaming about demonic animals coming after you. And till we get together again, remember that what I always say, carpe noctem, seize the night, and embrace the mystery. Godspeed. Hunting the Shadows.